we going to mask or unmask?
Yeah.
Well, hello again. For those of you who are returning, or for those of you who are here for the first time this morning, welcome. I'm Father Mark, and this is
Mark Lynchbaugh, Senior Warden.
and we are here to give you just a little bit of an update about where things have been going in the church. Do you want to just kind of bounce this back and forth?
Yeah, so basically this can be kind of considered like getting an email update on where we are with things, but we thought it would be nice to actually see our faces and give people some opportunity to ask questions. But I'd also like to encourage people, if you've got mounting questions and you haven't reached out to Father Mark or myself, I know some of the parish has done that, please feel free to send us questions, and we can do all sorts of different formats as far as getting information out to the parish, because clearly that's important to everyone. So this is kind of just an update on where we are with some of the pieces of information that are going through the parish right now, and this is really for you to provide that information to you.
Right. So, sorry, I didn't have my microphone on before. Hopefully this is not overwhelmingly loud. Just to update you first on where the sale of the building and the windows is. We've had some interest. We've had 5 different inquiries from separate parties who've called and visited. So far we haven't had any offers. However, our agent is telling us that that's not a surprise. That, the commercial market is dismal right now because of the pandemic. And we're going to see how things are going around the time of annual meeting, the rescheduled annual meeting, and see if we need to do anything different.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that my microphone was just off, so Meriden, you probably didn't hear any of what I had said before that.
So that's Mark Lynchbaugh.
So, and again, just to rehash what I said, if you hadn't heard this before, this is just an informal information session to give you a little bit of an update like you would get, and you'll get a follow-up email with some of this information as well. But just one of many ways that we've been communicating back and forth. I know some of you have heard from us directly through phone calls. We've had some committee meetings over the past, several months, in addition to the live church sessions that we had over the summer, and then into where we had to kind of shut that down. So the intent of this is really to disseminate information, and to the extent that questions are pending throughout the parish, please feel free to reach out to us with questions. And as additional questions come up, we can answer in a format like this, or we can kind of keep a log of responses of questions of people in the parishes.
That's right. This morning, you can either comment in the comments under the YouTube stream, or I think I've told some folks that they could text or email me. So just if you don't mind looking at my phone just to see whether or not anybody... Jesse Myers is here, ladies and gentlemen.
I kind of felt like this would be a good opportunity to do a Wayne's World kind of thing, and Father Mark and I are dressed alike today, and apparently that's my fault.
Does anyone
I don't know.
younger than us know Wayne's World?
Wayne's World? I don't know. So,
Okay.
All right, so you went over the first piece, which is the interest in the church. Again, we're at a tough time as far as the commercial real estate market, but there has been some relatively decent interest in the church, and we feel as we start moving forward in this year, and as the pandemic starts to simmer down just a little bit, that there is going to be good opportunity for us, and I think we're all pretty confident that things are going well in the real estate market under the circumstances. So I think there's some good momentum that we've got, and we hope that continues over the next several months.
Yeah. We wanted to touch base about the virus and how we're doing things internally as a result of the virus, and with COVID cases and deaths continuing to trend up for the time being, as you're no doubt aware. We've continued to be shut down. We don't anticipate opening up for in-person worship or in-person gatherings anytime soon. I remember before in the spring, we knew that there were a lot of cases out there, but they tended to be kind of clustered, and so I didn't meet that many people that actually had it. I don't know about you, but I'm finding that more people every week that are part of my family, part of my circle of friends, part of our church are getting COVID. And it is no joke. Some of them are quite seriously ill. Anyway, the prayer is that the vaccine rollout will go ahead as predicted, or maybe even a little bit better. Some people are saying that it might go a little bit better than predicted in the next few months. For now, we'll remain remote-only worship. We talked periodically among the officers and the vestry about whether or not we need to revisit the plan that we have. We'll keep you informed if there's a change. But the policy is it's a combination of the best advice that we've gotten from professionals and also our own diocesan leadership. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, we're trying to be as safe as possible. I know we set up the church in a way that we could have at least a small amount of people here and try to socially distance as best as we can. But as the pandemic started to get worse and worse, it was clear that we needed to err on the side of caution. And that's what we continue to do. And, I always look at this from what I talk to my parents about and my family about. We've now been through almost a full year of this pandemic. It's not the time to really start being lax and being less cautious. We really just need to get through this. And we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And I think everybody is looking forward to the opportunity to get back to some semblance of normal. But we're going to be as cautious as we can until it's safe for us all to get together.
I like how you went to Winston Church one there.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
How did I do that?
This is not the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning.
Wow, I didn't even intend on doing that.
Well, it was something like that.
Okay. Good stuff.
It reminded me of church.
So the next piece is our annual meeting, and I think that goes right back into what we were saying with our regular church services. We talked about several different options of how to manage the annual meeting. I'm sure everyone has been exposed to Zoom meetings and WebEx meetings and all sorts of different online pieces. That can be a little bit challenging for the type of meeting we typically have in the open dialogue back and forth at an annual meeting. So we didn't really want to jump right into that format. We had also talked about trying to space out the parish in this room in such a way that it would be socially distant. But we thought that the best option would be really to hold off just a little while longer, get an idea of where we are with the pandemic, with the hope that, maybe in a few months, I think we're scheduling now April. Is it April that we had said?
That's
the target.
We said we would revisit in April.
So the hope is that we can actually have a safe opportunity to meet with the annual meeting live. And if that doesn't turn out to be the case, we can start looking at some alternatives again, like partially virtual, partially in person, totally virtual. But again, safety is the big piece of this. Our bylaws allow us to push the meeting forward a little bit. And with that, we wanted to take the opportunity to try to make it the most effective annual meeting and a really great event that we could all be together for.
Sorry, I misspoke. The date is last Sunday of April. But I said that we were going to revisit in April. Actually, we're going to talk about it in our vestry meeting in March, whether or not the April date makes the most sense, and in what format we're going to do things. In the interest of getting you information as rapidly as possible, because I know that a lot of you are very diligent about following these things, we approved the budget at our January vestry meeting, and we're going to send the budget. Or we're going to make the budget and the year-end financials available on our website for you all to review. If you're part of a ministry in the church, that typically would submit an annual report. I hope that you will do that as soon as possible. I know we don't need it by the end of January, but I want to get these things together, and we'll put them together in an online format so that people will be able to review them well before the meeting again. And even if you feel like there's not much to report this year, I want to hear from you to get a sense of how this time has affected the life of our church. This is a historic thing that we're going through, and I want for us to be talking about what our experiences of this have been. And our hope was initially, as Mark was saying, that there might be some possibility of a portion of the meeting being in person. We'll see. That looks doubtful at this point. So, but we want to do a good job with the online version in whatever form that takes. We had a little meeting with our architect last week?
A week ago
Friday. Duo, our architect, and Sean, his able colleague, they met with us socially distant at the church with several of the leaders, Mark and I, Scott, Dan Mertzek was there as well. Am I missing anybody? And we talked about what was coming up. The big thing that Duo brought to the table this time is that we have a tentative project schedule. So, a lot of the work that's on the project schedule is, of course, in Duo's hands or in the hands of the contractor. But there's a few things that we need to do ourselves to get in line ourselves, including engaging engineers to do the site work. Of course, the sale of the church and the windows is in our hands, to raise the funds for the project. We're going to try and do some grants and fundraising. That's on our plate. And we want to explore and get permission from the standing committee to take out a construction loan. And I think that that's a potential point of confusion for people, but this is not to finance the project. This is to provide a layer of accountability. We take out the construction loan because the bank then has to ascertain that the work's been done satisfactorily at each point in the construction process. And that shields us from legal liability later on if somebody says, well, that they weren't paid or that the work wasn't done satisfactorily. The bank has looked at it at each stage, along with the general contractor and along with the architects. We get, multiple layers of protection from things going wrong.
So I think the meeting with Duo was good, like Mark said, because it gave us a tentative outline timetable of how things are moving forward. And the important thing to understand is momentum hasn't stopped. Like, clearly the pandemic has put a lot of barriers into the way of a lot of the things that we do in this parish. But the timeline of how long it takes before we actually start construction to when we finish construction and everything that needs to be done before we start construction gives us a little bit of latitude right now to work through some of the things that we would be doing no matter what, whether we had the pandemic or not. So I think, like Mark said, over the next 6 weeks or so, we've got a laundry list of different things that are due to the architect. Maureen was here earlier to do the readings for the service, and one of the things that she asked was about, like, what's the exterior of the church going to look like? So one of the things that we're doing in this process will be looking at some of the little nuanced things within the church, whether it be the exterior, the flooring, the lighting, little things that we are going to be bringing to the table of what the committees are coming back to with, of saying what the preferences would be. And from there, though, there's still a long process of looking at the different costs associated with different options and making decisions based on what the contractors are saying the costs are going to be and what the recommendations are. But we're starting to kind of move forward in the direction of not finalizing, but getting ideas of what the church is going to look like. And I think the committees are going to be involved in a lot of that process, and the parish is going to be involved in that process as well. So things are moving forward. The architect has put a good outline together of how we can do our pieces during this time period. And it really lines up well for, if like what I said about the real estate comes to fruition, if we get the momentum over the next 2 to 3 months of more people coming to look at the church, the timeline has really kind of fit in very well, like a lot of other things for this project, with the land being a right piece of land for us at the time. Just things are really coming together well. So I think we can feel good about where we are right now. And I think we can also feel good about the parish involvement all the way along the steps and the committee involvement as we move forward with the project.
So just another word about the process though. If you have questions, concerns, items that you think need to be transported from this church to the next church, any observations of that kind about the aesthetics of the church or anything else, those are transition team questions that need to be brought to the respective leaders of elements of that transition team. Because ultimately, the team and under Dan's leadership is going to have the conversations with the architect. And that's going to be the first kind of back and forth about what the church is ultimately going to look like. You don't want to bring them to me because I'm not part of that conversation right now. When the design comes to the vestry, then the vestry is going to sign off on the final design. So right now it's transition team and Duo Dickinson and Sean Rowe, the architects. All right, and once that period of conversation is done in the next 4 to 6 weeks, then that comes before the vestry for final approval. Right? That's how that works. This is not something I'm signing off on, or Mark's signing off on, or Dan signing off on. This is a conversation that occurs between the architects and Dan, and then between the architects and the vestry. Right?
So I just want to make sure everyone knows that if you're watching along and you can't seem to chat, if you go underneath where you can like or dislike our video, there's something called live chat. When you click on that, the live chat feature will link up for you to go into the comments.
All right, hopefully everybody heard that. Colleen was just pointing out that there's a feature underneath where you can like or comment on the video that says live chat. You can click on that, and that'll allow you to comment or ask questions or anything else. Do we have anybody chiming in?
Not yet.
All right, we'll give it a moment.
If nobody asks questions, we're going to start to sing.
What do you want to say?
No, I don't think we can do that. Again, the Wayne's one.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. I think that's it for the updates that we had, though, just wanting to get out there. And again, I think this will go out in our normal format in just a parish email as well. But again, as I said at the beginning, and I don't know if I reiterated when I put the microphone on, we want the lines of communication to be open. I've reached out to several parishioners about questions during this process. I know Father Mark has done a lot of that, but we do have meetings going on. We have vestry meetings, we have committee meetings. So there is dialogue happening within the congregation. We just want to make sure that people's voices are heard. So to the extent that you have questions and this is a good format for you, that's great. To the extent that you have ideas about a different format so that everybody can get their voices heard, we absolutely want to understand and reach out to people in the way that they're most easily able to contact and communicate with us.
Yeah.
So
Obviously, letter writing won't work if you want to get in on the conversation today.
right, that would be harder.
Yeah. You can't wait that long. You see anything on my phone, Jess?
No, I checked, nothing yet.
Yeah? All right. Anything on the comment section on YouTube? You know, I think that like your voice has a calming effect on people.
I think it does.
So-
You mean they're sleeping? Is what
Well,
you're saying.
I'm not saying they're sleeping.
I think
they're just incredibly relaxed right now. Oh, Colleen just said something.
Well, I just got some feedback that there's problems with live chat on the browser,
I
Uh-oh.
am looking into that.
and we're checking on it.
So you could also, I was going to give my email address, you know, on the air here. If you don't already have my email address, it probably won't be very helpful for me to give it to you right now because it's so confusing. But if you do have my email address, you can email me and our spokesperson, our spokesmodel, Jessica Byers, is looking at the phone and and checking the email for me. So
Well, and the other thing is this meeting isn't a one-time thing. This, to the extent that this is a valuable way to communicate after the church service on Sundays, we can plan regular meetings like this where we have the interactive back and forth. We can, again, use email or text or the live chat if that's back up and working. So this isn't a one-time thing. And if there are questions that you're not able to get through today, you can just send those to us via email, and we can even do a subsequent one, maybe tomorrow or next week after the service, to go through any questions that didn't get through to us today. I think we can do that, right?
I think so.
I think we can do that.
I don't see why not.
I know that all the questions that are coming up in the chat are actually about how stunningly handsome the talkers today look, even with masks.
I was just mortified when I got to work today, and Mark was wearing khakis and a black shirt also. Like, how often does that happen?
Can't happen frequently.
Oh,
And for those of you who did hear the sermon today, I had admitted while the cameras were off that I was a Tough Skins middle school kid, as well as currently having knockoff earbuds. So,
see?
right there, we were right there together. We were in that
We suffered.
same
in
environment.
elementary school.
So,
You got some feedback during service today. You got a lot of laughs for God's Uber being the whale. That was a good one.
I
That's a
never
good one.
thought of the whale as being God's Uber, but that was good.
You know, he needs him to get back, and there's, you know, it's not like a bus line in the Mediterranean, so.
Yeah, I'm trying it too.
We're still working on through some chat bar issues.
So it sounds like there are people that want to chip in here or
Possibly.
jump in, but
Let's give people some minutes to sort it out.
Sure.
Put my cell phone number and tell people to text me if they need to.
Okay.
Folks, I have a YouTube account, and so I did not realize that I had to test it without having a YouTube account. I will find the solution for next time we do this, because right now I just can't find that solution for you.
well, I think other than emailing my phone or you know, my priest account, you know, priest@standrewsmeriton.necoxmail.com, I don't think we have another communication option right now, right? So
You can also email the vestry at vestry1866@gmail.com.
vestry1866,
Yep, vestry1866@gmail.
vestry1866@gmail.com. vestry1866@gmail.com. So we'll wait around here for another minute or two, just in case somebody has been desperately trying to get through. But it just could be that, you know, we just provided you with such a complete picture that everybody's
That's
satisfied.
good.
Or sleeping. And
Or
that's-
sleeping.
And that could be the calming influence coming.
Yeah. Like you tuned us out, they've got a cup of coffee and a bagel, and they're just relaxing, really. It reminds me, I should get a bagel.
We did bagels and cream cheese and lox early this week.
Yeah?
Are you a lox and cream cheese kind of guy?
No, I like my bagels toasted with butter.
Oh.
Yeah, don't like the cream cheese, don't like the lox. I'm a simple man, simple tastes.
Gotta love the
Gmail
lox. I
crap.
don't know what it is, but it's good stuff.
Yeah? I never have really gotten to the idea of fish for breakfast. It's just, everybody has their own thing, and I know lox are very popular with a lot of people.
I got slowly transitioned
Yeah?
with Noah's Bagels in California, and they had a lox schmear, so you couldn't really, it was the taste more than it was chunks of fish, and it was the greatest. And then I slowly worked my, it's kind of like sushi.
Mhm.
I went from those cooked rolls with cooked fish into the sashimi.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
and now you actually dive into aquariums after the fish.
Yeah, I just bite fish right up, you know, take them out, take a bite, put them back in. So,
That's quite a transition.
all right, we better stop this soon. Barring no further questions, should we cut it? So again, so I apologize if you weren't able to get a question that you would like. But to the extent that you're out there and you like this format and you think that providing you can give some back and forth detail or questions that we can answer live, that's fantastic. So any suggestions that you have about ways that you would like us to communicate, I think that would be fantastic, and we'll take all of that into consideration for future communication pieces.
And we'll figure out the kinks, and so next time you'll be able to get in there. So, all right, folks, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.